Hello and welcome to Ham Nation, episode 589 for January 1st, 2025. And hello everybody, I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks so much for coming on out here to Ham Nation, the first episode of the year, actually the first day of the year. Thank you, everybody, for taking time out of your holiday. Hopefully you're having a relaxing time. And let's say hi to our hosts. Hello, hosts. How are you? The first episode of the year, first day of the year. How are you everybody doing?
I'm good. Happy New Year, everybody.
So far, so good, I think, on our end of things anyway.
Gordo, how you doing? Right up, starting at the top there. I see you got your decorations still up, so you must have been partying all night. How's it been going?
We are well, and we're going to talk about high frequency and the big antenna, or maybe the smaller antenna you can put on your vehicle.
Very good. Yeah, I always love hearing about fun little vertical antennas you can deploy. And Don, how are you doing? You got a sweater on there for a show that people like these days, I hear.
I've been hooked on Yellowstone since the very first, and I'm into Landman right now as well. So pretty much anything that Taylor Sheridan touches, I kind of really enjoy. So just wanted to start off by saying we can't let the events that happened in the French Quarter last night go by without acknowledging just the horrific actions of that person who drove a truck into a crowd of people on Bourbon Street last night, killing, I believe, 15 is the death count the death toll at this point. And also the explosion of the Cybertruck in Las Vegas. I don't know if those are connected, but very odd. But nonetheless, just some horrific actions to start the day and the new year with that we certainly hope things get better from there. And of course, our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of those people in New Orleans, for sure. Just an hour down the road from me. I used to work in New Orleans and lived in New Orleans for a long time. And used to do spend a little bit of time on Bourbon Street. I've kind of outgrown that now, but it's a beautiful historic district, part of the city, and just to have something like that happen, and to, I don't know, I'm kind of at a loss for words on that. But anyway, we're those folks are in our thoughts. We're going to have a report, of course, from Amateur Radio Newsline, and we're going to start the year the right way with Dr. Scove, who, by the way, sends her New Year's greetings and holiday greetings to all the Ham Nation crew and the Ham Nation viewers. And Amanda, she says she owes you an email, and she will do that after the holidays.
Oh, I can't wait. I hope she does get back to me. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Donnie. Awesome. We appreciate you. Welcome. Happy New Year to you, by the way.
Thank you. And
thank you for your lovely thoughts for New Orleans. Such a shock to wake up to this morning, by the way.
Yeah.
Not the way I wanted to start 2025, but other than that, 2025 is looking excellent so far. It is only day one. But
Give it a minute.
2025, we're coming across Winter Field Day, so stay tuned. We've got the hosts of Winter Field Day, and they're going to be telling us everything that you all need to know, and changes, new things, fun things to do. So stay tuned with that. But I think we're going to throw to Gordo first with the short shots. Take it away, Gordo.
All right. Well, thanks, Amanda. And yes, Don, our thoughts certainly are with all that's going on with our USA and people coming aboard, working to disrupt things. Many of us ham radio operators working with Mars or Air Force or Coast Guard and so on, we've been getting word today to be gearing up on high frequency, because that's one of the few things so far that they've not been able to undo. Although we had quite a weekend with all the solar activity and some of the major X-class flares. So let's take a look at high frequency and see what we have. Now, this is what Josh is planning. He knows that on high frequency, if you minimize the amount of loading you do with a loading coil, all the way on the left, you'll see his ideal whip antenna. That'll do 40 meters meters with probably 0 dB loss. It'll likely do 75 meters with maybe only 1 dB loss, whereas with a normal mobile whip, like you see here, you're talking about 2 to 2.5 dB loss when you get down to 40 and 75. But wait a minute, don't poo-poo these lightweight whips, because they mean business. If you get them mounted up nice and high, they're going to perform well. You want to get them on a sturdy bracket, and yes, they can brush with a tree and not tear off. But don't lose this. That's a little insulator that keeps it from grounding out. Don't lose that. And you know, we showed you an antenna. Shortly, we'll be showing an antenna that you do not even have to adjust the length of the whip. Actually, you play with a little bit of aluminum foil around the coil, and you can change frequencies by 1 and 200 kilohertz just by putting foil around the turns, and that will decrease the amount of loading, and it will up what frequency. Because as you know, on the shorter whips, you have a lot more of inductance, and that eats up a little bit of power. But it's necessary to be able to get under 16 feet when you're zooming down the road. That's the Hustler. This is the Outbacker. Unfortunately, the Outbacker is no longer readily available in the USA, although we saw one a couple weeks ago similar to. It was no match to what used to be the Outbacker. That's when I just showed you live, and this is the High-Q antenna, and High-Q is now working with the military, and the military now, quite seriously, is really looking up to ramp up their HF capabilities, because they realize that there are forces against our country that are looking to disrupt all sorts of communications anyway, even sticking that HF antenna on some of their aeronautical units. The key to good HF antennas is a good ground, so no matter where you mount the antenna, make sure things are well grounded. That coil is a little low. I'd like to see it a little bit higher, but if the trunk lip is grounded, then they're going to do just fine. And yep, if you try and measure with an ohm meter your HF install, many times it's going to look like a direct short, because the big coil HF antennas need inductance to bring up that 50 ohms impedance, and it looks like a direct short to an ohm meter, but it looks fine on HF. And of course, the larger the coil, the lower the losses, and that's a capacity hat, and that's going to make the whip look longer. And you don't need to make a capacity hat out of something official. A good old lampshade from Grandma that had all the little spokes on it will do quite nicely, that we see there at Quartz Fest. Try and get the ground plane around the base of the HF whip, and you'll do just fine. On the right is the HF tunable antenna. It's well grounded, does a nice job on George's vehicle. On the left is a high frequency whip that's driven by an antenna tuner. The high frequency whip on the left is nothing more than a 96-inch CB type whip antenna, stainless steel. It's not going to perform near as well, because anytime you try and base load right down at the coil, the antenna, that's where the maximum current is, and that base loading is going to get mighty, mighty warm. So the high frequency whip on the right looks like an old High-Q, is center loaded like many HF antennas, and that's going to generally outperform anything you may want to fiddle with an automatic antenna tuner, and just like a little CB whip. Ideally, the way to go. This is something that if you can score one now before they disappear from MFJ, this is a matcher that'll bring the whip impedance from maybe 20 or 30 ohm up to 50 ohms. And boy, you can really hear the difference on HF. Just go click, click, click as you change different bands, not transmitting, but just listening to the noise. And when you hit resonance up at 50 ohms with inductive capacitance, and you're going to do just great with an HF signal. And as I said, those of us that work with the Coast Guard Auxiliary or with Mars or with the Navy and Marines and so on, they're looking for more ham radio operators to join their auxiliary units because nothing beats getting up on HF. And we'll go one more time to a little trick I have. On an HF whip, if you have a 75-meter whip, and your served agency says we need you up on shares on 5 megahertz, well, you can use a 60-meter whip, but another way to go is a little bit of plain old aluminum foil, and you'll find that that'll short out via the capacity effect the number of turns on this HF whip, and if you do it just right, you'll be able to get on the air with a good signal. So be thinking about high frequency for your New Year's resolution this year. And I hope to hear many of you up on HF. And as I said before, this past weekend, holy smoly, 6 meters was smoking, 10 meters going to town, yet the lower bands were pretty much absorbed. But the good ham is able to offer the military as an auxiliary a good way of staying in touch because we know how to play antennas. Amanda, back to you.
Well, thank you, Gordo. Thanks for sharing all your wonderful words of wisdom. My God, I can't talk. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. Me.
No one's watching this anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to be on the internet.
Can we scratch that? Okay. Anyhow, let me introduce some wonderful guests. I've got. Oh.
Good question, and I always recommend try and get it up around roof level. Doesn't have to be above roof level, but just in line, maybe let the back windshield be a windbreak for it, but another foot or so, and I think you'll find that the tuning will decrease the amount of turns that on a big whip antenna like this, or on the smaller whip antennas like this, the amount of turns necessary to create resonance. So another foot or so would be good. You don't need to put it way up there, but years ago, a lot of hams developed their own top-loaded whips, and top-loading really is a great way to go. But I haven't seen any top-loaded whips for a long time.
Yeah, everybody's freaking out.
That's what you want to do, yeah.
I had my mic off. I had my mic off so they didn't hear it. I just was asking whereabouts would the loading coil be because Gordon mentioned he'd like to see it a little bit higher.
Yeah,
and then he gave the answer. So this is like the Jeopardy version.
Level.
Yeah.
About roof level, and it'll play fine. And out at Quartz Fest in about 3 weeks, we're going to be doing a lot of antenna testing, and that'll prove that out, I hope.
Now they should hear me.
This is why we are not in control of dropping the ball.
That's right. I would have dropped it from, it would have just fallen at terminal velocity and came crashing down. But anyway, Amanda, sorry for interrupting you. Thanks for answering my question. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. I was just about to introduce some other flavors of the M&Ms. We have Mike and Marv with us from Winter. I hope you don't mind that I did that. It just came to my head. Sorry, guys. Anyhow, we have Marv and Mike here who took over Winterfield Day. When did you guys take it over? 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
June of 2022.
Okay, wow. So it's been a bit, but they're here to talk about Winterfield Day. And Marv, I'm going to shoot it to you first. You tell us when and where, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, guys, for Ham Nation allowing us to come back on again and talk about Winterfield Day. We just feel like it's such an important piece of the year. It's one of my, favorite events of the year. Whether you do summer or Winterfield Day, either one, I'm always happy to just be out there doing amateur radio when I can. So Winterfield Day is going to be January 25th and 26th. That's coming up here in just about 4 weeks from this coming Saturday. So it's right around the corner, and it's a event that takes place literally worldwide. We have participants from around the world that can participate in it. It's not limited to just North America or anything like that. We do open this up completely worldwide. We have a lot of people from Europe and the kind of the Middle East area sometimes that will participate in this. So we're looking forward to that again. And one of the things that can really help people a lot that I'm going to mention right off the bat here is going out to our site, winterfieldday.com or .org. Either one will get you there. And
look at what Josh has.
There we go. And if you just scroll down a little bit, Josh, there's the map locator. And we really would like people to go out and just register your club or location. And it kind of tells, people where people can find other Winter Field Day sites if they want to approach a site and go visit somebody doing Winter Field Day. We do have the ability to say, hey, it's a public location or a private location. You go ahead and post it on there. But we're down in these numbers a little bit from our years past. And I would love to see this get bumped up a little bit. So if you're watching this between now and Winter Field Day, go out and register your site. And just helps us kind of know what's out there for people participating. And kind of lets us know that, hey, we got people from, Wyoming or North Dakota or South Dakota. And some of those are the states that we don't really have a lot of participation in sometimes out in those westerly part of the U.S. Not a lot of activity sometimes. But, it looks like we got a few, like South Dakota is empty right now. So, it's one of those things that we're trying to grab from there. And would really appreciate people just going out and registering and being a part of that and letting us know you're out there as well. So it gives us an idea kind of a little bit about it. So,
yeah, probably even if you're like a home station, just put that you'll be doing it from home so people know that they can at least try to get it in their logs.
Yeah, so obviously Winter Field Day implies that it should be out in the field doing something, but we do have 4 categories: home, indoors, outdoors, and mobile. And mobile could be basically it implies that anything that has like a cargo trailer, an RV, something you can pick up and move and go right away is mobile. If you're outdoors, it could be like a park shelter, it could just be a tent. But then we have indoors. It could be like community centers. It could be like an EOC or something like that people are using for indoors. And then obviously the home station should be pretty self-explanatory. But even somebody from home could go set up outdoors in a tent or something like that, or maybe they have a garage or a barn that's out away from the house a little bit. They could go operate outdoors, or I guess it would be indoors in their shed or in their barn of some sort too. So, and there are some other possibilities besides just being inside in your normal shack and operating. You can kind of get creative with some of that as well.
Totally, this is the time to do it.
Absolutely.
So, Mike, you guys have made some changes this year, which I think as you evolve, you're always going to be constantly making changes for each year. So you want to talk about some of them?
Oh, yeah. Don't mind me on the rule changes. I'm the one that likes to stir the pot.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, I'm kind of here just for my own amusement. I'm here for the comments and looking at some of the comments, like what is Winter Field Day? And I'll address that first because that's kind of important. So it's an emergency exercise, an emergency radio communications exercise. It's like Summer Field Day, where you can opt to go out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of your driveway, in the middle of your yard. You set up any kind of antenna and radio, just like you would for Parks on the Air or Summer Field Day, and you try to make contacts. Now, one person asked, is it a contest? It's not a contest. It's a field exercise. And, it's... you don't have to spend all day making contacts. If you want to go out there and make, 10, 20, 30 contacts and freeze your butt off and decide to go back inside, that's fine. The fact that you successfully were able to go deploy an antenna, set up a radio, use alternative power to power that radio and make contacts is considered a success. Someone said if you're not in Colorado, it's really considered a Winter Field Day. And, we get a lot of people that actually appreciate Winter Field Day because in the South, like Arizona and Florida, it's not 110 degrees.
That's
like
true.
It is in Summer Field Day. So, yeah, you can participate anywhere. In fact, as he was showing the map, there's people from all over the world that do participate in Winter Field Day. But you have to go look at the Winter Field Day page and look at the guidelines because they have changed this year. Like I said, I can't stir the pot a little bit, but I'm of the belief that sometimes we get complacent in our operations, and I need to keep you on your toes. So when you go look at the Winter Field Day rules or the event packet, you will see that we have a number of objectives. Objectives are kind of like in previous years, they were known as bonus points or bonuses. They're no longer bonuses, but they're objectives. For example, operating on alternative power, operating away from home, setting up multiple antennas. Those are all objectives. And each objective has a number assigned to it. Some are worth 4, some are worth 6, some are worth 2. At the end of the event, you're going to add up all the QSOs, all the QSO points you made, and you're going to multiply that number by the objective multiplier number that you achieved. And that's how you're going to calculate your tally for the Winter Field Day event.
Okay, so let me ask about the antennas, because that sounded interesting. So if people, does that mean if somebody's using, they put up a vertical and then they also are using a dipole, but is this simultaneous operating or just switching back and forth? How does that work?
So one of the objectives is deploy multiple antennas. And this is talking to a lot of the Parks on the Air people, because they'll go out and they'll set up an antenna, whether it be a DX commander or a long wire up in a tree, and they'll do that, which is great. But, one of the things we think about in emergency communications, like Gordo said earlier, is are you able to operate on multiple bands? Can you go from HF to a UHF or a VHF? Mm-hmm. Do you have a dedicated 20-meter whip, but now you got to change that to a 17-meter whip or a 10-meter whip? Are you able to, change out your antennas and go to a different band if necessary? To actually achieve that particular objective, you have to set up more than one antenna.
That's a true statement. And Josh, if you capture questions, break in at any time. Marv, so how many logs were submitted last year?
I want to say we had right around about 1,200 logs were submitted overall. So we had, I want to say the year before, we were like 293,000 contacts or QSOs were made throughout Winter Field Day. And last year we were down to about 268,000 QSOs, so maybe not quite as many across the board. But I think we had right around 1,200 logs total submitted. And we end up with like 19,000 different call signs involved across the board with that. So
that's very impressive.
So it's a little bit of the data that we pull from the logs that we're able to pull. I think we had 90. I don't have, you put me on a question on a spot I didn't pull up tonight. It's like, I'm not going to need the stats. I'll be fine. But we had 92 or 93 countries last year that were worked overall globally through Winter Field Day.
That's
so
fantastic.
To me is pretty impressive.
And I think ARRL, like they say that Summer Field Day is about 38,000 different operators. Mike, let's go back to you. So you're kind of talking about some of your objectives are to make sure that you're using definitely multiple bands, whether it be UHF, VHF, and HF. Are there different bonuses? I'm going to call them bonuses now. I'm so sorry. Are there different objectives for
multipliers?
that?
Yeah, so one of the highest multipliers, one of the highest objectives has 6 multipliers, and that is working multiple bands. And I think it's work at least 6 different bands. And if you work 6 different bands, 80, UHF, VHF, 20, not the WARC bands. It's kind of just the gentleman's agreement. We stay off of those bands.
Sure.
But all the other bands, including 160 meters, if you can do 160 meters in the field, so be it. And you want to work 6 different bands, just like the same way you can work different modes. You can work CW, you can work digital, and you can work single sideband. To address a question that Bill had about logging, you can log any, whatever your native logger is. If you have a N3 FJP, which we really like, N1MM, if you do Parks on the Air and you have like Hammers or a POTA logger that is your favorite, you can use any of those loggers. But in order to have your logs counted towards Winter Field Day, you'll have to export your log and actually upload it to the Winter Field Day site. And there's a link on our website that becomes available right after the event. And you can go answer a few questions, enter your call sign, and upload your log in either an ADIF or a Cabrillo format to our website. And something that we're doing this year that's really neat is we're incorporating some stuff from World Radio League. And I'll shoot that over to Marvin to talk about that a little bit. But we're doing some cool stuff. We like to bring in some fresh stuff every year.
Okay, so we'll put that on the side for a second, and then I'm just going to ask you the hot topic. What are the modes? Are you guys still no FT8?
Is that even a question?
Well,
it comes up every year.
Real quick, when we are talking about when we are talking about bands, I want people to make sure they don't forget like the VHF, UHF bands and 1.25 centimeters. I mean, those are 220. Those are certainly all still workable as well.
Sure.
So when you look at going 6, hey, we got to get 6 bands. You can make a VHF simplex contact. That would be certainly countable towards that. And then, in regards to the FT4, FT8, this is I'll call it my canned response, is that it was a gentleman's agreement when I took the organization over that there was no FT4, FT8 continued in our board as we move forward with Winter Field Day. And so I'll continue to adhere to that, and I'll keep that gentleman's promise. But the thing is, it really doesn't, transmit the information that we want you to be able to transmit for Winter Field Day. And there's so many other modes that, I always call FT4 and FT8 kind of a shooting fish in a barrel. But the other part is there's JS8, there's PSK31, there's the Iridi. There's so many other digital modes. A JS8 call is a very popular one that a lot of people use through Winter Field Day. And so it's like, you know what? You can do FT4, FT8, 364 other days of the year. If that's the mode you want to operate, go learn something new. Go do something new for 2025 and learn another mode of digital operation. That's where we like to go with that. So
great response.
But yeah, you're right. It's a question that comes up every year, and we're going to continue to give you the same answer.
It makes sense to me. Now, I don't know who wants to take this, but I saw. By the way, everyone, follow these guys on their social media pages. They're on X and Facebook for sure. But I saw on X and Insta. Okay. You were asking for help with some operators using FL Digi. Is that still an open request?
Yes. So we're looking to do. Mikey, you want to run with this? You've been doing more on the Winter Field Day Bulletin than
I do.
Yeah, I'm going to let Michael talk about this one. That's been more on his game.
So taking a play out of the Summer Field Day playbook, and I will shamelessly do so, this year we are incorporating a Winter Field Day bulletin. And I believe also in the grand scheme of, if there was a national emergency and power was knocked out and they did a national broadcast over the radio, you'd want to be able to copy that. So we are doing a very brief, it won't be near as long as the Summer Field Day one, but we are doing a Winter Field Day bulletin. We've gotten some help from the guys on the East Coast or the West Coast. They do the CW transmissions for the practice test for the ARRL, and they're going to be broadcasting our CW portion of the bulletin.
I love that.
And then we're going to be doing a hopefully RTTY and single side band as well. And we're going to be doing it twice. One time will be at 10:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock at night. Those are going to be the 2 times that we're going to do the Winter Field Day bulletin. And we are looking for some mega stations, if I can say that, who are able to help us transmit the single sideband portion of it. And if you can do the RTTY, and if you're interested in doing the RTTY portion, that bulletin will be published to a very select few people right before the event. We're keeping it hush-hush on what the bulletin's going to include because we want you to copy it. And we will send that out right before the event. So if you're capable of doing a 1,500 watts or a full legal limit, and you have a nice station that has some good coverage, and you want to pick a band like 2040, 10, one of the bands that we're going to be operating on, and that bulletin will be broadcast at the same time over separate bands at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 4 o'clock at night. So I'm super excited about this because it's something brand new we're bringing to the event. And I see in the chat that there's a lot of people who are saying like, oh, I've never done Winter Field Day before, or I'm new, but I'm here listening, I'm here learning and stuff like that. And I just encourage you, like, if you're able to go out, and if you're a new ham and maybe you've taken like ham radio prep and you just got your license, but you're nervous to get on the air, Winter Field Day is a great time for that. It's not a high-speed contest where the goal is to go and make 100 contacts an hour. You can go at your own pace. You can have a conversation during the middle of the thing. Ask someone, hey, what antenna are you using? Tell them this is your first time you've been talking on HF, and it's just a great time for people to get on the air and have a good conversation and get your feet wet. And if your antenna doesn't work, or if your battery dies 2 hours in to the event, like literally that's the goal, to find out where your weaknesses are, to find out what you have to improve upon to do better next time. That's it.
I love that outlook. Definitely. It's definitely very important. Some people for Summer Field Day plan for 6 months ahead, and they go out there all prepared and ready to assemble all of their antennas. It's kind of fun or necessary for us to have to do things on a whim, and what can we put up and operate, and who can hear us when we do that. So
so all the new
high
people
power
are just
station
like, hey,
here
I've
in the
never
middle of
done
the
that.
U.S.
Do it. Yeah. We definitely want you to join us.
Very good.
Real quick, I saw John talked about slow scan television, and well, there may be something in the room for future. We can't add everything all at once. We're kind of like Apple. You have to add a little piece at a time over the years. So it's something we've thought about and something we'll probably do down the road for sure. But you may just pay attention. You may see one or two of this year, just for giggles. I may be doing them if I can. So absolutely.
And you see the question Josh put up there, has it been extended to 30 hours?
It has been.
Crazy?
So what I found out when I moved out here to the East Coast due to my wife's job relocation last year is that a lot of parks in the Northeast area are either just plain closed for the winter, and I live in Massachusetts, or the park's open from like 10 a.m. to like 4 p.m. or maybe 5 p.m. and then they close. And so it's like, well, if people want to do Winter Field Day in the park, they have a very limited time, because we were starting at 2 o'clock Eastern time, and by 4 o'clock they'd have to be starting wrapping up, and so they'd have to go find another location to move to or something like that, or just only work for 2 hours of Winter Field Day and be done. And so it's like, wow, this is really eye-opening for us, and we had no idea. So it was like, all right, well, how about we extend this so we can give you a longer time during the day to be able to operate in the morning. So yes, you're gonna have to start a little earlier on the West Coast, but for those in the East Coast, it makes a lot of sense. And so if you do run into a situation where you'd have to, and this is another one of our notable changes for the year, is that if you start at 11 o'clock here on the East Coast and you have to wrap up by 4, but you have another place maybe you can go that evening, or you want to go work from home or something like that, or do something different, but you want to maybe try and stay outdoors, you can actually take your location and change it. It doesn't have to remain fixed during the event. Now, if you were, the caveat to that is, if you're a 2 Oscar, we want you to still remain 2 Oscar, because you really can't change that throughout the your call sign and your rack and section throughout that time. But that's the other thing, is you can move to another different grid, but as long as you're in the same rack section and you didn't change from Central Florida to Northern Florida or something like that, because you were really close, within a couple miles of that, then you're just fine. So as long as you don't change sections, you can go a couple miles down the road and make a change. That works out just fine. So that's kind of cool. More like a rover type of situation that people have done in the past, some of those roving things. You can do that if you want. it may, if you had a big setup, obviously some people do some big tents and towers. That doesn't make sense. But if you were just a little tent and you needed to pick up and move, you could do that. Or maybe weather is incoming, and so maybe it's not as you got a blizzard or something. I can go work for a couple hours, but then after that, I need to pick up and go again to somewhere else for safety. Absolutely, we're allowing you to be able to do that. So
very cool.
Amanda,
yeah,
you're very familiar with Summerfield Day. I mean, everyone with Ham Nation, of course, is very familiar with Summerfield Day, and this is something new this year. Is in the past you have been confined to a 1,000 square foot cylinder circle area,
sure,
and you have to set up and stay with that. This year, you're still confined to 1,000 foot. Like all your antennas and tents and heaters and everything have to be within 1,000 foot of everything, but that circle can move. So if one day you want to set up one spot and go to one park and work Winterfield Day, and the next day you want to go to another park and set up a Winterfield Day, you can. Now the thinking behind this, like everything we do, is in the spirit of Winterfield Day, because if you're working a emergency event, say there's wildfires and that fire is getting too close, you may have to close down shop and move to another location and be someplace else. Or if you're operating someplace and floodwaters are coming in, you may have to move your position to someplace else and go set up. So being able to do that and practicing that and having the skills to I got to get out of Dodge, pack up everything, move 3 miles down the road, set it all back up again, and do that, timely and efficiently. It's definitely something that is useful in, emergency communications. So
absolutely.
when people are reading over like all the changes and stuff, and they're like, why is this different? Why is this different? Why do they keep changing things? It's basically everything is within the spirit of Winterfield Day and emergency communications. That's it.
Well, you see, as emergencies happen, we can just look at the past hurricanes we've had in 2024 and things like that. All of a sudden, you realize you gotta move to a mountaintop, and it's the only way you're gonna have communication, or you have to be there to talk simplex to the one and only helicopter that's bringing in support. Those things actually happen, so we might want to train on it a little bit. So I understand the thought process completely, and minimizing really, a battery and an antenna that you can carry, not something you have to truck in, is important to know how to set up and to practice and train on, for sure. Josh, do you have any questions for the guys?
I do, actually, and this came up, and I wanted to preface this because I think it needs a bit of a talking. So Dennis Hess asks, can you use WinLink for Field Day? And we know that that's one of the new objectives that you have, right? Do an email there. But the curiosity I have is, and I started thinking about that, I'm like, oh, wait a second, what if, so point-to-point WinLink, right? If you're using point-to-point, two stations, they hear each other directly and they send messages. That, no-brainer, of course, that's allowed. But then what if it's exchanging emails to like a gateway, and the gateway is giving you your Winterfield Day emails and you're sending out Winterfield Day emails? Those are facilitated and helped out by the internet. So how does that play into it?
That is completely allowed, and this is why. Say Wisconsin had an ice storm, knocked out power to the whole entire state of Wisconsin.
Sure. Yep.
However, down south in Kentucky, they got plenty of power. So as long as the signal leaves your Winterfield Day location as an RF signal, we don't care where it goes next. It could go to a relay station in Kentucky, bounce over to a relay station in South Carolina, and eventually make its way down to Florida, and that person responds to you. But it has to leave your station via RF. That's the only caveat.
Makes sense.
But not, if, 2 states over, they have power, they have internet, so be it. They can still download that via Telnet and, send that back out via RF. Theory.
So then this is another question, and I think it's a nuanced point, because everybody's asking the bazillion different digital modes, right? So maybe I'll say this, and then you can correct my thoughts there. So any mode, whether it be digital, Morse code, single sideband, where you can exchange free-form information, like in an emergency situation, is pretty much allowed. So that could be PSK 31. Someone said held fell. Sure, why not? RTTY. As long as it's like a two-person conversation that can happen, and I guess other people listening too, of course. That's pretty much what distinguishes whether it is a mode that is acceptable. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I like the clear yes answer.
Yeah.
That was yes.
Yeah, very clear. No, I think you spelled it out very clearly, and I appreciate that. I think that's great. And so that's exactly what our point of it is. And as long as you can transmit the message we want, and you can do anything any way that has that free open form message platform works very well. The other thing is like APRS. You could do things via APRS as well. People have asked about that. We've had a couple of emails come in via APRS, so absolutely support that. The other thing we wanted to get back to a little bit was talking about loggers. I saw a question pop in there a little bit ago. Someone asked a question, where can we log at? We used N3FJP. We call that a kind of our favorite. It's something that I've used personally a lot over the years. But again, we N1MM hammers. There's a new thing called Smart Logger. There's lots of different options out there to do it. What we ask is, though, we have quite often, we'll see version, and I wish I could have the right versions for N3FGP off the top of my head, but we're going to go with, they had version 2.6 back in 2012, and today they've got version, call it 6.8. And so we'll see versions 2.6 all the way through 6.8 as options that people will submit, because it will tell us when they submit their log what version of N3FGP they were using. And we just ask people go out and update to the latest version. It makes, because there's been changes made over the years, it makes our life a lot easier on the back end for doing the data processing, that you go out and update to the latest version of whatever program you're using. And with that, we've tried to really simplify this even more. And this is the most exciting part of what I call this year for 2025, is we've actually integrated with Ham Radio Prep, World Radio League. They've got that online logger system. And we have partnered with them, and they've been a great partner through this to be able to work through this and want to be able to create that as a contest within their platform. You can go over to worldradioleague.com. And Josh, if you want to pull that up, that'd be great. If I didn't put you on the spot with that one, but
what's the URL?
You can go the worldradioleague.com, and they go to their let's see, I have a login. Let's see, I'm trying to think where they're. It's a little blurry on my side, but they should be able to find easy logging. World Radio Logbook maybe is the top of the page. I just log in because I'm already automatically logged in all the time.
Looks like I got to
get a created account. Yeah, I don't think that. I thought you could do it without having to log in, but they do have a contest section. Once you log into that, if you create your login account, they have a section in there where you can go in and join the Winter Field Day contest, and that's what they've kind of labeled as in there and under their contest section. And there's lots of other people on there. It's going to be a live leaderboard. Also, as you get in there, you'll have a place to check off your objectives. And so once you've achieved, again, we shouldn't do ham radio math on the air, but you have, let's say, 100 contacts, and you've got 2 objectives that have a total of 3 points available to it. Now you've got 300 points. You can update your points right away, and you may move to the top of the leaderboard. At that point, if you were the top leader of the number of points and objectives made. So it's going to be a live leader feed right there, and we don't have it set up really right now to be able to have it feed into our site as in the end as a automatic submission. So the thing is, you will have to go out and take your ADF file, which you can export from World Radio League, and you will have to export that and import that into our website for your Winter Field Day submission. But that should eliminate that. And then the other part of it is we're hoping that N3FGP and N1MM, they'll have the integration done. This is no promises, so don't hold me to this on this one, folks. But we're hoping that we can do the N1MM and N3FGP integration where it will feed automatically into World Radio League for Winter Field Day. So we're hoping we can have that done. Fingers crossed that will be taken care of. But we'll see where that goes. So
Marvin, is there a cost with a person was asking? It says sign up for free. Is there a cost with Rotor Radio League? A subscription cost?
It is absolutely free still. So
100%. Okay, so they can sign up for free.
Yep, it costs nothing. You could do online logging, and I think we'll have offline logging available for that too, if I believe correct. If I remember my memory serves me correct. So.
But the nice thing about this is they're going to have we'll be able to see leaderboards. So Amanda, if you're sitting there operating where you're operating and you're making contacts, and I'm in Missouri and my brother's in Massachusetts, all three of our names will be on the leaderboard. And once you hit an objective,
I'm just gonna say. So tell me this isn't a contest again.
It's not.
It's not a contest.
It always pushes me to go a little bit further.
We call it contest elements.
Contest adjacent.
Okay, well,
yes.
Before we wrap it up with you two, is there anything else you want the viewers to know?
We will say the same as Ham Nation. We appreciate Icom again being a major sponsor and helper to us to be able to keep the doors open per se with going and what we do every year. So we appreciate Icom and Marika for all that they do for us to be able to help us and support us. We are all volunteer board. And it is donor funded to keep this organization alive. We do have costs for back end support and things like that, and website costs, things like that along the board. We've got, if you find us at some of the different Hamfests, we do have some swag and stuff that we usually give away as well. You can find additional swag over at hamstuffonline.com, and give that an hour or two before you go visit that site. He's just getting that back up again. I'm going to put you on the spot for that one, but also if you go out to our webpage, we do take PayPal donations as well, and we do take those and appreciate that as they come in. So
fantastic.
But we appreciate you guys, all your support that we get throughout the year. We appreciate everyone that's going to participate in Winter Field Day, and hope that you'll have fun. Reach out to us at WFDA@winterfieldday.com if you have any questions. We get questions probably daily right now coming in for people asking just different things about, hey, I want to operate this way, or I want to log this, and what's the proper way, or what's the best logger to use?
Yeah.
So
what's my category? Yeah.
What's my category? Things like that. So absolutely. So we get all kinds of questions, and we're always glad to answer them and trying to respond back within about 24 hours usually. So
fantastic.
Mike, anything else?
Well, I just want to address one thing, and of course, Chris asked what KF6 NFW asked, exactly how's it not a contest? And going on to that, we often look at Winter Field Day and Summer Field Day, and they get called contests a lot. We really kind of changed things up since we took over a couple of years ago to go to more of an objective-based event, and I kind of feel instead of, one person being able to achieve, 90,000 points, which is, yay, I got 90,000 points. Congratulations. Here's a cookie. We now have it set up where it's more objective based, and the maximum objectives are 26.
Wow.
Is the maximum multiplier you have for objectives. And some people aren't going to have any desire to make a satellite contact, and that's all right. Some people aren't going to have a desire to do WinLink, and that's all right. But when you do it, you can see how many objectives you've actually completed. And, if you get, half the objectives, you've got 50% of the objectives completed. That's something you should pat yourself on the back for. Is it possible for one person to have, the ultimate, most total number of points and beat everyone else out? Now, I guess if you made enough QSOs, you can. But really, if you hit that max of 26 multiplier, everyone can hit that max of 26 multiplier. Like if you really wanted to go out and, push yourself and experiment and try new things, everyone can do that 26 and get that multiplier of 26. So it's not a contest in that way. We encourage people to slow down, exchange the temperature of where you're at. It looks kind of cold here, but I will tell you it's nice and cozy, 80 degrees in this room right now. But talk to about, hey, what kind of an antenna, are you using? You sound really good. What radio are you on? and what's the temperature there? How much snow do you have on the ground? Those kind of conversations are definitely encouraged to take place, and that's why it's such a great thing for newbies. Is you don't have to worry about being quick paced and being a proficient on the radio. You don't have to worry about getting those contacts in and getting to the next one. You can fumble a little bit and fumble and stumble. And if you hear someone on the radio that day, encourage them a little bit and be like, hey, you sound like this is your first time. Have you been licensed long? It's a great day to just have communications, go out, experiment, learn stuff. And that's definitely what it's more about, the spirit of Winter Field Day and the spirit of learning and making mistakes. Definitely a lot more so than a contest.
Well, we all live those.
And there's 2 events to practice at before you even get to Winter Field Day. And you got the ARRL VHF contest, and you've got Support Your Parks weekend, the weekend prior. So you can make sure you're very well prepared for Winter Field Day by participating in those 2 events prior. So, yeah.
All right, and if everybody just go to their website, you can find out how to contact these guys. And there's a big, I think, big frequently asked questions and stuff. So thank you, Mike and Marv, for being here. We appreciate you. We got to wrap it up, and we have to go to an Icom commercial. So
that's very good. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Happy New Year from Icom. This holiday season, let your passion for communication shine bright with Icom's industry-leading ham radios. Celebrate the spirit of the season with reliable performance, cutting-edge technology, and the unmatched clarity that makes Icom a gift worth giving. On the road, Icom's handheld radios offer reliable performance, long battery life, and clear signal quality. Built tough for outdoor use and emergencies, Icom keeps casual and serious operators connected wherever you go. The ID50A provides hours of VHF-UHF fun and enjoyment. Beginners will love the easy D-Star settings, band scope with waterfall display, voice messaging, and share picture function. The ID52A is the first dual-band handheld with a full-color 2.3-inch waterfall display, conventional FM and D-Star simplex, repeater, regional, and worldwide calls over the D-Star Internet Gateway. The IC705 and IC7300 are the go-to rigs for outdoor hams who love POTA and SOTA activations. Both radios feature a large color touchscreen with real-time spectrum scope and waterfall display for intuitive function and setting operation. The IC705 provides big radio features and performance in the palm of your hand. Enjoy HF to 50, 144, and 440 MHz with D-Star, SSB, CW, RTTY, AM, and FM modes. The IC7300 is an industry first to use RF direct sampling in an entry-level HF radio. This high-performance radio has class-leading RMDR and phase noise characteristics and a built-in automatic antenna tuner. The IC7300 will far exceed your expectations. The real HF fun starts here. Or upgrade your station to one of Icom's premium HF radios. With the IC7610, faint signals are no longer challenging for DXers and contesters. Pick out the faintest signals even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. This is the SDR every ham wants. The new IC7760 offers a modern connection system with a separate remote control head and RF deck linked via a standard LAN cable for more flexible installation. Place the RF deck closer to the antenna feed point, freeing up space on your desk. You can even connect the control head to the RF deck through your home network, enabling remote operations from anywhere you're home without a PC. The ICPW2 is the perfect power addition to your base station. Take your contesting experience to the next level. The ICPW2 is the perfect, powerful addition to your base station. Take your contesting experience to the next level with Icom's industry-first linear amplifier with included digital pre-distortion and a built-in 2x6 automatic antenna selector for single-operator to radio operation. For more information about Icom's great amateur radios, visit icomamerica.com/amateur today.
And a big thank you to Icom here for sponsoring Ham Nation. Looking at that video, looks like they're pretty geared up for Winter Field Day. I will be with the W6TRW Club. I believe we go to PV, so consider this an invitation. If anybody's in the area and you want to use the Winter Field Day website, you can find us on the map down in Palos Verdes. And I will be running QRP, and I will be taking my 705. I believe the whole club. We always do QRP. But anyway, come on out, and we'd love to have you. Every time we are live on Ham Nation, we give away 3 swag packs, and at the end of the month, Icom gives away a radio. And while I don't know what this year's lineup of giveaways will be, because a lot of the folks at Icom are, illogically taking the day off here for the holiday, they did, however, update our winners for the swag pack, and at the end of the month, we'll pick that winner. So let's take a look at who our winners are. For the first swag pack giveaway of the month, Justin B, AK4BO, Dustin B, K2Bro, I like that, K2BRO, and Eric M, KK6PWG. Remember, if you click that Enter Now button, that's right there on the side. Link is in the video description. You can add your call sign, your email, and you get added to the giveaway. And you'll get notified if you win. So thanks, everybody, for joining. And thanks again to Icom. We very much appreciate you. So, Don, we're passing it over to you. How have you been so far?
So far, it's the first of the day of the year, and we're, about 20 hours into it, 21 hours into it now, and I think I'm okay.
Good.
Fingers crossed for the rest of the 364 days. Unless it's a leap year, then it's one more. I hadn't even thought about that. I'll tell you what, while I ponder that, let's go ahead and catch the news of the week and the solar update as well from Amateur Radio Newsline and Dr. T. From Amateur Radio Newsline report number 2461, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, January 1, 2025. A much anticipated ham radio satellite built by students in Taiwan never made it into orbit. The rocket self-destructed.
Taiwan's Paris T-1A satellite was to become one of the newest FM repeaters in space, but it never got a chance. The rocket launch was aborted by Japanese startup Space One right after liftoff on Wednesday, December 17th. The rocket destroyed itself, according to news reports. Engineer Mamoru Endo, a company executive, said that an autonomous safety mechanism triggered the destruction, likely after a first-stage engine or control system abnormality caused the rocket to become unstable. Hams Worldwide had anticipated the eventual orbit of the 3U CubeSat, which had an FM crossband repeater and an APRS digipeater on 145.825 MHz, the same frequency as the International Space Station's APRS channel. Meanwhile, the amateur satellite known as Paris T1 is being scheduled for launch by SpaceX in January, carrying an APRS store and forward system. Both satellites were student projects at National Formosa University. This is Jim Meachin, ZL2BHF.
The cooperation between amateur radio and other radio services continues to grow. In fact, one ham club in Southern California recently committed to making that happen in a big way.
The Mile High Radio Club isn't just in favor of growing amateur radio as a public service. It wants to see radio in general become a public service asset. The club recently agreed to provide its mountain community with a repeater for General Mobile Radio Service, or GMRS, so anyone with a compatible radio can pass along information or ask for help. The repeater is to be located in Idlewild, in a region often facing wildfires and earthquakes. Expanded GMRS service would prove useful not only during events such as those, but to assist hikers who encounter emergency situations on the popular wilderness trails. Like amateur radio operators, GMRS users must be licensed, but there is no qualifying test, and one license can be used by all members of a family. This is Ralph Squillace, KK6ITB.
A scholar from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology has expressed concern about the impact of geomagnetic storms on space traffic coordination among satellites.
2 geomagnetic storms this year had a serious impact on low Earth orbit satellites after increased atmospheric density created drag affecting satellites' orbits. The first storm was a solar event last May that made the aurora more visible at lower latitudes in the northern hemisphere. The second storm was in October. Most of the satellites affected by these storms were part of the Starlink constellation. William Parker of MIT told a meeting of the American Geophysical Union on December 9th that the shift in orbits was not easy to accurately track, posing a greater likelihood of collisions. He called the phenomenon a mass migration of satellites. He called for better forecasting of space weather and the use of better models, saying such requirements were critical in being able to move forward with these kinds of operations in space. This is Dave Parks, WB8ODF.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news since 1976 at arnewsline.org. With Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF, Ralph Squilacci, KK6ITB, Dave Parks, WB8ODF, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3, Happy New Year! We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
We have 2 big solar storms on their way to Earth, plus X-Flare players give us some holiday fireworks, and it's all in time for New Year's. Our sun continues the holiday fireworks this week. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, we have been watching this cluster of regions over the past week as it's been giving us big M-class flares at the R1 to R2 level radio blackout. But this week we have region 3936, 3938, and region 3939 joining the fray. These regions have been firing off big solar flares and solar storms. In fact, back on the 28th, we started really seeing some activity from region 3939 or 8, and then 39 gets in the fray, and you can watch them both kind of launching some junk here. Well, at one point they launched this big solar storm. Check this out in coronagraphs. See this massive halo? This is definitely an Earth-directed solar storm, and we'll talk more about it in a minute because this one could actually hit Earth by New Year's. So we'll talk about that in a sec when we get into the models, but that's the first of several solar storms that are going to hit Earth. You can watch these regions continue to fire over the next 24 hours, and on the eve of the 29th, region 3939 fires again. Here's another partial halo. It's much more wispy than the first one, and that's because this thing keeps firing off all of its material. But this is also an Earth-directed solar storm, so it's now going to be on the heels of the first one, and this could hit on New Year's Day. So welcome to January 1st in the new year. Now, on top of that, we had to have more activity from these regions. Watch region 3932 and 3936 here early on the 30th. Pow! Both of them fire together and give us an X-class flare. This is an R3 level radio blackout over the Asian Pacific. Now, we didn't get a big solar storm launch with this, so we don't have yet another Earth-directed solar storm, but with all of this activity on the Earth-facing disk and new regions going to be rotating into Earth view, you can see region 3943 here firing off some junk here off to the side. That particular region might be old region 3917, which was very active last rotation. So my goodness, the storm potential and the flare potential keeps coming. So get ready, Aurora photographers, because you're going to have a lot of fun over New Year's and possibly in through next week as well. And now taking a closer look at those solar storms that are on their way to Earth, we switch to our solar storm prediction model, Enlil. Now this is NOAA's version of the model. The top panel's density, the bottom panel's velocity. You're looking down at the sun from the North Pole with Earth being off to the right. And as we begin to set this solar storm model in motion, you can see both solar storms. There's the first one being launched. There's the second one being launched. As you can see, they're both headed toward Earth, with the first one being much larger than the second. The first one looks like it's going to hit Earth about 1700 UTC on the New Year's Eve. So this could be a really beautiful impact right for New Year's Eve. We have almost a new moon, and this could mean Aurora photographers could get a gorgeous show. Plus, after that, if we take a look at the intensity here, you can see just shortly thereafter we get the impact from the second one, and that one will be about 600 UTC on New Year's Day. So this is what NOAA believes will be the impact. You've got a nice little window there. So let's hope that that's the case. If we switch to our NASA's version of the model, again, you're looking down at the sun from the North Pole with Earth being off to the right. As I set this solar storm model in motion, you can see these two solar storms being launched. The first one looks like it's going to hit Earth right here about noon on the 31st, so that's a little bit sooner than what NOAA believes is going to be the case. But the second solar storm, if I can get it to move forward here just a little bit, let's see. Move forward for me. There you go. That solar storm looks like it could hit, really about midnight. So essentially as the clock strikes 12. So aurora photographers, either way, whether it's going to be kind of earlier on New Year's Eve through the New Year's Day, the window is pretty well set that we're going to have some decent chance for aurora here over New Year's Eve and New Year's Day before things calm down. And again, we could have a bigger chance for more solar storms later in the week because we do have new active regions rotating into Earth view. And now switching to our solar flare and dayside radio blackout outlook over the coming week, we are sitting well into the 200s for solar flux this week. This is because we have so many active regions in Earth view that are big flare players. In fact, we've got severe noise on the dayside radio bands, and that's easily going to continue over the next few days, possibly through the rest of the week before things settle down. Hopefully things will settle down just a little bit as a few of these regions rotate to the sun's far side. We're giving about an 80% chance of M-class flares. This is at the R1 to R2 level radio blackout, and about a 30% chance of X-class flares. This is at the R3 level radio blackout, likely because we keep getting these flare pairs where multiple regions keep flaring at the same time, and that really boosts that radio blackout level. And that's going to continue easily again through the next few days, possibly for the rest of the week. It's going to depend upon what we have on the sun's far side that's rotating back into Earth view. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, expect this week to be a bit tough. We've got those big solar storms on the night side, plus big radio blackout potential on the day side. So hunker down and grin and bear it over this next week, because things, I promise, will get better. So the space weather this week is ringing in the New Year's along with the rest of us. We have two Earth-directed solar storms. The first is going to hit on New Year's Eve and the second on New Year's Day. So aurora photographers, if you're at high latitudes, you could definitely get a gorgeous show. We could hit G3 levels, and with that new moon, the sky should be incredibly dark, which is really great news for you. Now, aurora photographers at mid-latitudes, well, you know what? The news is pretty good for you too, because with a G3 level storm, that means aurora will dip deep down into mid-latitudes, and it could be very bright as long as the magnetic field is in the right orientation and make it conducive to storming. So be sure to check those online space weather communities, because I guarantee you field reporters are going to be reporting in, and they'll keep you up to date. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, sadly, we do have a lot of flaring right now and a lot of noise on the bands, on the dayside radio bands, and this is because we have lots of those big flare players in Earth view, and this is going to continue easily over this next week. So expect R2 to R3 level radio blackouts to be the norm. So don't be checking your rig. Everything is okay. It's just the space weather. And now you GPS users, well, sad news for you as well. We have a lot of noise on the dayside radio bands, but also we're going to have a lot of noise on the night side as well because of the big solar storms hitting. So you GPS users, and this does include you precision agriculture farmers, be very careful. Expect to get some issues with GPS signal degradation over the next few days. And if you're a drone flyer, be sure to calibrate your magnetometers often during the solar storms. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
Always awesome to have Dr. T on. And, she spent a lot of time talking about aurora. One of the pictures that, and if you don't follow her on X, you're really missing out. One of the pictures that she posted is this from Finland. This shows a beautiful green twist aurora right next to some fireworks. So let's see if you can get a picture of that. Isn't that gorgeous?
It looks like green fire in the sky.
iPhone. It does. Amazing. Isn't that beautiful? So you see the fireworks and the aurora. That was in Finland last night, as a matter of fact. So, yeah. It really does. It really does. So, yeah, she's a great follow.
Can I make a shameless announcement? I've never seen a single thing of Harry Potter ever.
Really? I just came back from Universal Studios, and Harry Potter land is amazing. So I'm full of Harry Potter love and energy. We just finished watching the entire series before the New Year. So big fans here.
My sister in Dallas is a third grade teacher, and she decorates her
Nice.
her room every year in Harry Potter. It's a whole theme all year is Harry Potter stuff in there. So yeah, make sure you follow Dr. T, and of course thanks to the Amateur Radio Newsline folks for another year of just excellent service. So that's all I have. Josh, Amanda.
Indeed.
Well, I think it's time for Ham It, Can It, or What Am It?
First of
Let's
the
do that.
year. Let's do it.
I love it.
Okay.
Nice.
I can't see what I'm sharing.
Oh,
Oh my
okay.
gosh.
Hold on.
Yeah,
There
you are.
we go.
Okay,
It's
there
in.
we go. All right. This is AI, and you can tell totally because right there at the top it says Happy New Year. This is why you can't trust AI to design stuff for you. Leave it into the hands of a graphic designer. Just saying.
That was exactly my setup, though. They nailed it.
Yeah.
Did they?
Beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, let's get into some of those ISS captures. This person got all 12. Who was this? MM7DCD must have had some good passes. These
Nice.
are amazing quality.
Yeah.
And I have been seeing so many of these in the last week, but this one was just really striking. It's congratulations for getting all of them there, dude. And they look great. Good. Somebody's first soda activation in 2025, HB9FUE. I love following this person. They post a lot
Wow.
of cool stuff, and they're always they must just live in like the coolest place in Europe. It must be just gorgeous mountains around them and lots of snow. So
Six bands, though.
too.
Yeah.
That was
six
awesome.
bands, yeah. And he did it all with it. I think that's a Zygu. What is that? A G90? What is that? I have no idea.
Can you get a little closer for me?
Um,
Looks like a G90, though.
Yeah, I think it said G90.
Yeah, it's a G90.
Okay. So
Very cool.
means you
I
don't
like it.
have to have money to do sodas.
Nope.
All right. Oh, you guys, this is, remember a couple weeks ago I showed
Yes.
you, what is that
Yep. The
modification
drop-in board. Yeah.
Yeah.
follow up? It was not for 10 meters. It was for 40.
Oh,
Really?
wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I didn't know that was possible. So I found this, it was really just random that I ran into this follow up on this. I had no idea. I ran into this today. So I thought that was pretty cool that there was what he was modding, and it was for
Wow.
40 and a little HT Boshing or Goashing or
Quansheng.
Quashing. Okay.
Yeah. Neat.
This was cool. Save the tracking unit from an old satellite dish and trying to get it to work with Arduino and a motor drive. Fingers crossed. So I'm going to follow up on this too to see if he gets this working.
That's
Oh,
a cool
wow.
project.
I just never crossed my mind to use something like that. I forgot that they even did some kind of tracking from old satellites. So interesting way to repurpose some old equipment if you find any of it hanging around.
Hashtag tinkering. That's the best hashtag of all. I
That
love
is
that.
kind of cool, isn't it? I'll get to the information on this second, but this is from 1942. This was kind of like a military pack.
Look at that thing.
It's so random.
You'll put your eye out with that, kid.
Yeah, literally. Don't go running with that thing on your chest.
Oh my God, I can't imagine. And
Got
I
to be
thought
vertically
maybe-
polarized, though.
I don't know what is in this pack
That's
part. Probably like
batteries.
some kind of battery.
It's probably,
but
well, no, the belt, I bet, is all
The
batteries.
belt is batteries. That's got to be,
from the
RF deck or
40s.
whatever it is.
Okay, so here's the explanation. The UHF S phone was developed in 1942 for the special operations using 337 megahertz and 380 with output power 0.1 to 0.2 watts. Featured in 1946 movie School for Danger.
For danger.
Must
Huh.
Netflix that.
Yes, obviously it's on YouTube, but thank you, AKA Ham Radio, for sharing. I found it very interesting.
Oh, it's on YouTube. Even better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
School for Danger. Let me jot that down.
Sorry, people are activating some awesome places over there in Europe. So I just wanted to show this one off too. I thought my sodas were cool here in Colorado at 14,000 feet, but these people have some amazing stuff that they
Look
do.
at that.
So it's very nice. So I'm glad Inaki, I hope you had a great time doing that. All right, this was just a question or kind of somebody's observation. that Bon Comfer says that he's noticing a lot of youth movement in his town. A 10-year-old recently became licensed, as did 2 teens in Allegheny County. I have no idea where this guy is, by the way. And my 7-year-old wants to get his license in 2025. Our hobby needs this young blood. Has anyone else noticed a movement of more youth getting involved?
Youth and ham radio. Never heard of it.
But specifically the youth kind of taking the lead and pushing it like to get
It's
others
awesome.
in. I think I am
awesome.
seeing a little bit more of that than in the past. It seems more like they are more taking the driver's wheel, if you will, in what they're going to do with their clubs, like school clubs, a lot of school clubs coming up.
Yeah.
And they're driving it a little bit more than it being someone like, oh, this is the project this week, we're going to do this. Instead, they're like, no, I want to do this, we're going to go after the, and that whole thing. And that just brings in
you are seeing
more
it.
and more people. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I personally have not seen it in Colorado, and I might have to put out, being section manager, have some leeway. Maybe I can start a committee to put some more youth involved into it.
Talk to Steve Goodgame.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, reach
Should
out to
hook
him
up
and
with
see
him.
if there's a
Neil
teacher or
Rapp.
somebody in your area you can work with. I think that's what they need. Is they just need a teacher that'll kind of let loose of the reins and let the kids drive. And that's
It
the
takes
big thing.
money too, so we need some
That's
money.
what they're there for. That's
Exactly.
they'll do it.
Exactly. Speaking of youth, the Yoda camp this year is going to be taking place in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
I know.
close to you.
So I'm going to try to get involved a little bit if anyone will let me. I happen to know some of those people, Neil, and who else? Jocelyn.
Yeah.
Let me
Sterling.
get involved. Let me have some fun. Oh, Sterling, yeah. So anyhow, that's in June. All right, moving on. I know we're out of time. This is so funny because this was an AR Newsline.
Yeah,
The
Satnogs.
Satnogs. Yeah, and I didn't know what it was. So it was my what am it. So now I guess I know what it is, but everybody's putting these and using them for whatevers and whatevers. So anyhow,
Tracking them sats.
there you go. Oh, this one was kind of, but this is just a public service announcement, everyone. People that use digital modes really need to stop quick keying. And when he's talking about digital modes, he's going to be
Voice.
talking about YSF or DMR or D-Star. When you're keying up and talking on those repeaters and things like that, he's saying, wait a second, please, for the love of everything, wait a second, because your first word gets cut off, and then we have no idea what the call sign was or whatever. So,
That's true.
N3 XTF, I'm with you on this, and I think it just all repeaters. Just do that courtesy 1 sec. Take a breath in before you talk, and then talk, because linked repeaters are something else. And by the way, when you are having a lengthy conversation on a repeater, just pause in case somebody else wants to jump in and has a comment about whatever antenna you're talking about or what the weather is doing, because we all know that's what conversations happen on repeaters.
Yeah, and on some of those mega link systems, you may have to pause 2 or 3 seconds to let all of the machines key up. So keep that in
100%,
mind
and
if
it's raw.
you're in some of those huge link systems.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
here's what could possibly go
system.
wrong here?
If it's field tested, that's great. I wish I would have seen pictures. But okay.
That's still
You
one of
do
my
you.
favorite jokes is when somebody keeps having a problem with their power. It's just always jam a penny into it. What's the problem? What could go wrong?
Yeah. And then you got the guys that like put a bullet casing,
Yeah.
a live bullet casing in for one of those cylindrical fuses. That's good. What
Oh
could
my.
possibly go wrong there?
Well, you
Or-
get the auditory notification when you have a failure.
yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, and it blows a hole in the side of your gear.
So there's that, and then there's also the picture that shows you like your fuse replacement necessary.
Yes.
And it's showing like a wrench all the way down to like a piece
foil
of
from a gum wrapper.
aluminum foil.
Right.
Yeah, of what
Yep.
you need. Oh boy.
Exactly.
We have seen someone do that with our Christmas lights in this household, by the way. So
Oh,
I'm not gonna
my.
mention any names. I don't know what this is. Does anyone know what this is?
That's
What
the
am I-
Well-Good 4.1, Amanda. How
that a-
silly of you.
Is that a 4-to-1 Balun, but it's using
Looks like it.
binocular toroids?
I don't know. I don't
Where's
know. I was
Gordo?
hoping somebody else. Gordo.
What is that?
No, I don't
What am
see
it?
the toroid, so it's probably not a Balun.
No,
But,
there's two of them, Gordo. They're binocular, though.
Oh, there they are. Okay,
Yeah,
now I
they are
see them.
binocular. Well, that's interesting.
There you go. Micro 4-to-1.
I wonder, you're
Huh.
not putting a lot of power on that thing.
No more than a couple of watts.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the connector, I mean,
B&C.
it's not a
Yeah.
big. Yeah, it's a BNC.
SMA.
SMA.
Oh no, that's BNC. It looks like BNC
It's
female.
BNC on the bottom,
Okay.
yeah.
So off-center fed dipole QRP, you'd be fine.
Right.
Okay. I had no idea what it was. Oh, this one is just really sad. This is just a local announcement. Our beloved AM station went dark yesterday.
Aw.
Forever. So KRLN, who I grew up with, in fact, my business used to advertise on it when we first started back in the 90s. They used to have auctions. They did all kinds of things. Ham Radio has been on there to talk about Field Day before. It's just really sad to see another AM station go dark. So it hit the graveyard. The owners in Nebraska could not find a buyer, and they didn't know what else to do. So they just closed it down. They'll probably sell the building and the real estate for real estate money, and that's about it.
We got a go back, a live go back from Frank. He said that looks like a Well-Good loop amplifier. So
let's go back.
Maybe it's a power over coax LNA.
The only thing I could think of is to maybe look up M1 GEO or G8 OCV and see if maybe they have some things posted on their QRZ page.
Right.
Yeah,
so
somebody
it does
said
Find
have
out
4,
some more.
4.1,
Well-Good is
not 4:1. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
apparently
because
Well-Good is a well-known name, so that's what people are
The
saying.
operator is
Okay.
HB9VQQ. So,
Okay.
all right. Well, thank you, Frank, for a little insight there.
Well, neat.
And my friends, that is all I have for Hammett Can It or What Am It this week.
I hate seeing any radio station go dark. Stephen King is the author is a radio station owner up in Maine, and he was seriously thinking he was going to have to make his very, very popular pair of FM stations go dark, but they found a buyer to keep those on. So those are extremely popular up in Bangor, Maine, and still going to be rocking out because King is a huge rocker.
I bet.
He's a musician. He has a band, but he's
really?
he's a rocker. Yeah, and they're very, very successful radio stations up there. But they're still on the air. Very popular. They're still on the air up there. So very good.
Very good.
Good for Stephen.
Well, you guys, let's wrap up our first show of the year by telling everyone where they can hook up with some nuts. We've got 7192 for HF. We have 14 Charlie for D-Star Net. Listen for Steve on 14268. And that's all I have. Does anyone else have anything around the horn before we say goodbye?
Last thing
Just
from me.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Frank, again. Drop the link for the Well-Good loop.
Oh.
It's a loop on the ground device. So this is for
really?
you receivers out there, or just on your HF radios. You can do a good loop on the ground with this, and that's a nice little way to go. Loop on the ground works pretty well. I've tested one and have found that the signal to noise ratio is pretty good. And if you're in a noisy environment, it can be helpful. Oh, we got a kitty, Gordo. You got a cat with you.
No audio, Gordo.
No audio.
Cat.
He's got the cat stepped on the
Muted
mic.
himself.
Cat
Yep.
chewed through the cable.
Well, that's it for me. Don, how about you?
That's it for me. Just everybody, all the best for 2025. We've got all the potential in the world to make this a great year, and it's up to us to do it. So there you go.
Happy holidays.
Profound words.
Happy holidays indeed. Well, that's
Well,
it.
thank you, Gordo. Join us in 2 weeks. We're going to be having a preview of Quartz Fest, as well as Hamcation and something else. I don't know what. I'll bring it to you when we have it. So
Great. See you in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've got a quick Hamfest update on the 18th. The Hammond Hamfest on the north side of Lake Pontchartrain, just across the water from New Orleans, is happening. And I happen to be off that Saturday, and my son Tyler and I will be going to the Hammond Hamfest. We'll be celebrating his birthday actually on the 20th, and that Hamfest is on the 18th. So my boy, my little boy of 24 now, N7 TMW, we're going to be doing some Hamfesting together, and that's always a good time. So see you guys up in Hammond on the 18th.
thank you, Don. And thanks to our guests for being here. M&Ms, we appreciate you.
M&M's, love it.
That's stuck in my head forever. You guys are screwed. Sorry.
It's all good.
Which one's the nut? he points to the group shot.
Yeah.
The bag of nuts.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's him.
It's appropriate.
Yes, it is.
Well,
He's a younger brother. So.
Oh, the younger brother always gets it.
Well, a hearty Happy New Year and 73 from
Yes.
us to you here at Ham Nation. We'll see you in 2 weeks, everybody.
73.
73 all.
73.